Perfect.
Um, so Josh, I'm here with you. You want to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and who you work for?
Yeah, so thanks, Andrew, for having me on. My name is Joshua Wallen. I'm the Grassroots Engagement Director in Tennessee. I'm in East Tennessee, so kind of everything east of Knoxville, and as well there. So like it's kind of a big old area to take care of. But what we essentially do is we're an organization that is nationwide in 36 different states, and our goals are essentially creating prosperity and making people have that American dream that we believe is still attainable and can be reached. I know some people think it's kind of hard to get there or not available anymore, but our big goal is getting people where they need to be and where they want to be, and making them as their best selves is the word I would use there. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the main thing is just gathering people around good, solid issues and policy. We're a policy based organization, fighting for better freedoms.
And you work for American for Prosperity, right?
Yes.
So one of the questions that I kind of have for you. So I know you do stuff with AFP. Do you guys have like affiliate organizations or other groups that you guys kind of team up with? Who do you mostly see you guys partnering with?
So one of our big quotes that we use, it's from Frederick Douglass, is we work with anyone to do good and no one to do bad. So there's really no limit um to a partnership as long as it's like a good it's there's mutual benefit for both us and the other party. Um, but as far as people that we partner with mainly, we're kind of under an umbrella, so we see a lot of with a CVA, which is Concerned Veterans of America, and Libre Initiative. They're our sister organizations under our umbrella. So those two we see the most of. Um, Libre deals with more of the Latino and Hispanic communities, and CVA deals on the veteran side of things. But those are the two we see the most. But we've partnered with countless organizations across the country.
Are there any policy differences between the two organizations and what AFP does?
So I haven't seen too many differences, but is obviously going to focus on things that are affecting veterans, and I'm not really in CVA, so it's hard for me to. I'm not going to really take their reins on that. And Libre has their own things, so I don't necessarily know like there's like too many differentials. But what we do around all of our stuff with our policies is when we're working, there's obviously groups and people out there that you will work with on one certain issue, and maybe they don't want to work with you on another issue, but we I think at the end of the day we have groups that there are certain issues that we can all gather on, and there might be some that we see differently. But at the end of the day, anybody that's working on this on same issues or certain issues that we're always willing to work with them.
Now you worked with some other I can't remember if you worked with any congressional candidates, but I know you kind of done some state stuff with the Republican Party in the Northeast,
Yes,
Tennessee. So
yes.
how has that kind of prepared you for what you do with AFP as well as kind of being successful in what you do?
So I'm originally a campaign kid. I come from that world of politics. It kind of brought me into it. I was at ETSU. My parents both knew our state rep that was in my county, and we got involved in his state rep reelection. But he was also originally going to run for Congress. And then in doing all that, I met our congresswoman now, Diana Harshbarger, great congress member for our area, and I was on her congressional campaign in 2020. And really, I'd say that prepared me the most for this role. I did a couple small campaigns after that, and some state party stuff as well as work with just the party in general. But at the end of the day, I will say that the Harshbarger campaign taught me the most about this job. I learned really how to successfully build a community that's based around like stuff that we're doing. Versus, it is a little different because with a candidate, you're selling a candidate. When you're in a policy based organization, you're kind of selling freedom. Yeah, I don't. That doesn't mean to sound stupid. It's just you're
Yeah.
selling you're selling like a freedom, and things like, hey, for example, we're fighting if we're fighting like at AFP Tennessee, we're fighting a statewide property tax ban. So it's like, hey, like that's easy. It's a hey. So like instead of like, oh, this candidate is fighting, it's like, hey, we're fighting this, and we come together to fight this problem. At the
Right.
state level. So it is a little different, but it definitely prepared me. And I think at the end of the day, being being a professional in the people world and the policy world helps a lot. So I really thank all the candidates that I've gotten to work for in the past that prepared me for this. Been on countless campaigns, a couple of different states that I've helped with. So I've seen a lot of it, but I really do appreciate this organization and what we do on the policy side of things, and I do feel like the candidates prepared me to have that mentality.
So, what's kind of like the policy that I guess you're most attached to, or that you're like, that's your favorite policy that AFP is working on and that you guys are helping get passed?
So my favorite
Like
policy
like
that
I guess like an example is like if you're really about marijuana legalization, like that's your number one issue, or that's the issue that you and AFP are working a lot on. That's the one that you're really passionate about and that you're really trying to push. You know what I mean? So like what
I'm
would
with
that
you.
be for you?
So the number one issue that I would say for me that I've at least been involved with and I've seen is we work on this one issue. Now it is definitely going to take time, and we work on a lot of issues. So I do want to my honorable mentions first would be school choice being one of our
Yeah.
biggest priority issues. We're starting on the on to work on the Reigns Act, also coming up. So interested to see how that goes. With the way the like bureaucrats want to like put these regulations and things down. So interested to see how that all goes down. But my biggest issue that I have been so passionate about is the certificate of need and our work to repeal the certificate of need in Tennessee.
That's the con laws, right?
Yes, yes, yes. We want to repeal the con.
Yeah. I've seen plenty of advertisements for those, so I figured when you were saying the certificate of need, I'm like, is that Tennessee con law that everybody, is
Yes,
seeing? So,
yes.
you want to tell everyone a little bit about that?
Yes, so for con, it's healthcare access in Tennessee has been a contentious issue with rural communities, and especially in my area with ballot health. That's been something that when they came in here, if you've ever been around Northeast Tennessee, and that's
Mhm.
and that's my home, so it really means a lot to me. But ballot health coming in here and kind of monopolizing that, and not even kind of, they did monopolize it.
Yep.
It's just not that's not fair, and it's not what it should be. Anybody that believes in like the free market and conservatives that are like minded, and I'll say this is the one issue I think no matter where people want to sit on the aisle, like if you want to say Republican Democrat or conservative Republican, people in this area when I talk about con, they have they've been on our side with it.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people are happy about. I don't think a lot of people are happy about ballot health and what they've done. So with all that, it's been kind of a whirlwind of things. We had an event back in April or May, featuring a couple of State Representatives David Hawk, Bud Holsey, and Timothy Hill, that have all three done a lot of work with us on repealing the con, and they came to this event, and we had, I think it was over 150 people. We had a media hit that hit like 24 million, I believe.
Hmm.
So it's a big deal, and the
Yep.
way our area runs, I mean, even people on that side, like like Ballard, their executives, when you get to that side, they're pushing back against it. There's a lot of candidates that do different things. So for me, that's just been my biggest issue. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to ramble on that. There's a lot of things you can kind of dive into, but we've done work on it in the past couple of years. I know AFP before I got here, they worked on like hospital beds,
Yep.
certain different things. Obviously, the ER being a thing, but being someone like me who's had personal experience with dealing with ballot and the ER systems, I've had family members in and out. Um, and recently, my father had a heart attack last year, and we had to deal with it. So seeing these kind of the ins and outs of it definitely remind me why it's my biggest issue. But if you have any questions on it, I can get a little bit more specific. I don't mean to kind of give the overview, but
No,
I'm sure you
no,
kind of understand where it's at.
I know you and I have talked about because you're going to the Tennessee game this weekend, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
go
so that's
balls.
definitely something we can talk about then. That may not, and maybe we can bring you back and we can talk about that more. I just know, and just to tag along with some of your personal experiences, I know, I've got family. Abby's she's up in Gate City, area, so she's very familiar with ballad and those kind of.
So is she? No, no. Is she? I know you said she was doing something. She's doing something with nursing, isn't she?
No, she's looking at doing pediatrics. So she's
Pediatrics. Okay.
yeah, so she's going through a residency, or she's applying for residencies now. And one of the big things that she and her family were even telling me about was I think they had either just closed down one of the hospitals up in the Tri-City area, and it really makes it difficult for especially when you have like one big hospital group kind of running a whole region, and
It
they can't decide if
really,
it's open or not.
really and truly. And I'm not sure if Ballard's gonna try. I don't know if they've because I don't necessarily. I mean, obviously, like it's I met you, through that Gate City area.
Yep.
So like I don't know. Are they up in that area? I haven't been up there since
Yeah, so they're
22,
they're
21.
they're in Gate City. They're just on the other side of the line. So they're definitely in the Virginia side. But they're even
Okay,
in
so
the
they're
rural area. But I think it might have been one of the ones in Kingsport that just got shut down or something like that.
but they're in the Virginia side now.
Yep. Yep.
That's crazy. I will say this: if you listen to ballot execs talk a lot, and they're I don't want to get too into the rabbit hole of this, but I mean, one thing I heard a couple of years ago brought up was this regionalism thing, and so like if you hear the term Appalachian Highlands up in this
Mhm.
area, I do think like that's been something that I've seen a lot with ballot like messaging and wording because that region kind of sits and it expands. I think there is some correlation with that. So I hear that terminology a lot, and it just kind of brings me back. And I'm didn't even know they were over on the Virginia side. That is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, and like I said, we'll talk more about that at the Kentucky game.
Yeah, for sure,
Get a few beers
for
in us,
sure,
and we'll talk all about the about the con laws.
for sure.
Um, So one last few questions, and so I know you and I, we've been talking for a long time, and I know you've been taking some trips down to Georgia, you've been up to Pennsylvania, and you've been to I think some other areas as well. So what
Yes.
kind of tell me a little bit more about kind of what those battleground states. I always talk about what Georgia is, but tell me about what you've
Yeah,
seen and felt in Pennsylvania and some of those other states.
absolutely. So the I've been to four states in the past month and a half. I've been to Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. We were in Troy and Detroit in Michigan.
Mhm.
I was in Milwaukee and South Milwaukee in Wisconsin, and
Okay.
then we're just recently in Akron in the Cleveland area of Ohio.
Okay.
So seeing all these states, it's really different. Philly, for example, being kind of still East Coast, Philly was something that I was like, it obviously has its moments depending on where you're at. As far as close to the city, it was more on the blue Democrat side of things. Where we got out into the outskirts, it felt super battlegroundy. So
Yeah.
like you would be in a neighborhood where you would knock on the door of a house that has like Trump Vance signs. At the time in Philly, we were docking for Dave McCormick, who's running for Senate. So I'd see like McCormick signs and all these Republican signs, and they'd be super conservative, just as if you were up here in Northeast Tennessee talking to someone. But then their neighbor next door, and I'm talking, this is not just like a neighbor that's like a mile away. I'm talking like a
Right.
fishbowl on top of your neighborhood. Kamala Harris, Tim Wall signs,
Yep.
Trump's horrible like stuff, and I mean, and they mean it. And I mean, I wondered how their neighbors. I'm like, I don't know how you live in this neighborhood,
Yep.
but but I see that in Philly. I saw that in Philly a lot, and that was kind of my first initial shock into the battleground state stuff. And then flash forward 2 weeks later, we're in Michigan, kind of similar situation. I felt a little bit more confident in the candidate in Michigan that's running for Senate, which is Mike Rogers. I feel a little bit more confident for him in Michigan than I necessarily did in Philly, just off of the area we were in. I'm sure maybe in Pennsylvania they have a little. It feels a little bit better in different areas, and then in Wisconsin was super interesting. That one was the most battleground I saw because that was where I saw it like every other house, and it was something
Mhm.
different. Akron, I thought felt pretty good on our side of things on the
Yeah.
conservative side, and AFP Action's involvement that it really felt solid in our standing. So really excited to see how those races all shake up. But as far as battleground goes, I will say we really are in a fight this election. Obviously, we were in 2020, and so was 16, but we've done a really good job of advocating for things and spreading awareness about what we're doing. But really, like anybody that gets an opportunity to go, take a look at these states, it's insane. It's
Yeah.
really crazy what you can see.
So one question that I've kind of had is, and I think it was good that you came on for this because I've always been kind of thinking about it. Is you always hear about how the Trump campaign is kind of, especially for get out the vote and those kind of things, they've kind of outsourced that to other organizations. Is AFP and some of the other organizations you had talked about, would those be kind of considered that, or are you guys actually separate from, say, the Trump campaign and maybe just work with on individual candidate basis?
So AFP Action does like you have to word it kind of like this. So AFP Action is the pack, and I'm not necessarily um, kind of in the realm to really like speak on their decisions, but I can tell you what AFP Action does is they like when they endorse a candidate, like they get involved that way. We are not like with like we are not like with the Trump organization, and we're not really like in all honesty, we're not with the candidates that we like. We're not on their campaign.
Right.
So as an action committee, like on the PAC side of things, when you get involved, you're there to provide a marginal effort to help. But as far as like the actual even the candidates we endorse, like, we are not their campaign. And so like you have to kind of look at it that way.
Mhm.
Because like obviously like when you're on a campaign, like you're this, that, and the other. But when you're endorsed, when a PAC comes in, they can provide a marginal effort, but there's a lot of things that you can and can't do with that on the legal side.
Okay. So the last 2 questions I have, one should be pretty easy, the other one is it kind of ties into some of the stuff you've just been talking about is, what's your prediction? How do you think, everything's gonna shake out, especially with those battleground states?
Such a good question. I'm really confident in our organizations. I'm really confident in AFP Action's endorsements. I feel really good with all four of those candidates: McCormick, Rogers, Hovde, and Moreno in Ohio. There, I'm really confident in all four of those Senate elections. So for our Senate firewall strategy, we've had a lot of people involved. Even here, I have two communities that have made countless phone calls for all those candidates, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that turns out. As far as presidential goes, I'm confident, but it's also like I want to proceed with caution because I don't want to like get there and then like not
Yeah.
because you got to expect something from every side. Things are going to happen, things are going to get crazy, but I'm confident in it. Just proceeding with caution.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so actually, I just thought of another question, and it's kind of been one that I've thought about maybe doing a video on. Is so one of the things that and for those without context, I'm 27, about to be 28. You're what, 25, 26?
24, about to be 25.
24, about to be 25. So one of the questions or one of the things I see a lot about that people talk about is like young men and are trending more to the conservative side than say Democrats, how it usually was. Um, why do you think that is? Why do you think younger men are becoming more conservative or voting more conservative in recent elections?
In recent elections, I would say there's an old saying. My dad and my uncle used to tell me this all the time. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to mess this up, so I'm gonna take it slow. But it's was it Weak times
Yeah.
create strong men. Strong men create strong times create, weak men,
Yeah.
and whatever the saying is. I think it's kind of in that scenario because you got to think like, if you go back to like, you know, so many years ago, generations ago when it was hard, men, went to war at 18, they became strong, really like came back and made things a little different. And when things are going well, it is easy, I think, to get complacent. And I think we kind of suffered through that for a little bit.
Mhm.
But I will say I think we're in a position now where we're at that point where stronger men are being created. I will say I think that's been a good turn. But I also think too, like I think the Republican Party as a whole has done a little bit better. I used to have the worst complaint about seeing young people involved in it, so I think they've done a really good job about getting younger people involved, not just nuts like me that get bit by the political bug at 18.
Right. Okay. All right. So the last one, this is the easy one that I was telling you about. So Tennessee plays Kentucky this weekend. How do you think it's gonna shake out?
Well, Andrew, I'm excited to see you down there. Definitely,
I'll be
definitely
there.
gonna have to get you a drink while we're down there. So wear your blackout stuff.
Yep.
Really excited. I think Tennessee should boat race Kentucky.
Hmm.
Personally, I think we are to Kentucky what Florida usually is to us. But back to back wins against Florida and Alabama. I'm really pumped for this game. And thanks really for letting me do this tonight.
Yep.
Would love to do this again. Honestly, this has been really fun. Like I really like your questions. So I definitely would love to do this again.
Yeah, and I really just kind of want to, and like it's like we're talking about before is, I really want people to know what you do, what
Yeah,
organizations are out
I
there,
mean,
what those grassroots organizations actually do. We're not just the
yeah,
people who put the postcards on your door and walk away.
yeah,
We're
right,
really out
right,
there trying to push issues,
right,
and organizations like yours are really trying to make an
right,
impact in the community. So
right.
I'd love to
Well,
have
I
you back,
mean,
and we'll definitely do it. I may have some liberal person on before that to balance us out, but
it's totally
I would
fine.
definitely love to have you back.
Yeah, there's plenty of questions we could probably do whole episodes on, or
Yep.
any form of grassroots stuff. So looking forward to it. But yeah, obviously we'll stay in touch. But go Vols! I'll see you this Saturday.
Yep. I'll see you this weekend, dude. We'll
All right,
be in touch.
sounds great. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Thanks, bud.